Om. He who is the giver of spiritual knowledge and strength, whom the world worships, whose command all wise people obey, whose shelter is immortality, whose shadow is death. He it is to whom we offer our worship. Ya atmada baladayasya vishva upasate prashishyam yasya devaha yasya chaya mritam yasya mrityu kasmai devayat havisha avidemaha. This is a prayer from a very ancient hymn in the Vedas. Today's topic is struggle and spirituality. If you struggle, that's spirituality. Any struggle? Yes, in a way. I mean, noble struggles. So they're both linked. Struggle means a concerted effort. It's you're supposed to be highly motivated towards achieving something or getting freed from constraints. The plan of the world at times seemed diabolical. We have to struggle even for the smallest thing. And we have tried to circumvent it, tried to evade struggle by thinking there's something called luck. And we gamble and gamble, struggle gambling, and we are left with nothing. People even are attracted towards religion in order to grease their hard struggles. If I struggle a little, somebody is going to hear me. Somebody is going to have pity on me, and somebody is going to give me something that I want. But these are also some of the ways we try to avoid struggling. Struggling is a pain. Yes, it is actually a pain. Spirituality, of course, as I said, there is no spirituality without struggle. And the spiritual goal is always freedom. And one has to reach that goal. Once you pin that this is goal, what is freedom? Yeah, there is a tremendous joy there. So your struggles also will have meaning now. Many a times we feel that our struggles have no meaning at all. It makes no sense at all. And why should I go through all this pain? You see, there is that goal of either you call it immortality or eternality, whatever. There is a tremendous infinity waiting for you. We've all seen a surface of a lake or a pond when something is dropped inside and the waters are slashed into waves or ripples. And then the water itself tries to reach its original equilibrium. So something comes in and there's a kind of a disturbance of the equilibrium, and there's a struggle to come back to that equilibrium. This is what is creation. Creation is something like this. You're feeling happy and so contented and so peaceful, and then something comes which disturbs the whole thing. And then you struggle against that. You come back, and again you're contented and free and easy, and again something comes. It keeps you constantly on your toes. It is a constant struggle. So creation also, we say that the mother Kali, she comes and keeps on disturbing the waters of creation. This is, and then everything is going down into an equilibrium, she will come again and disturb it. Why? Progress. When we struggle, we advance. You stop struggling, and then you spiral down. Yes, that is a very strange, you can say, fact in the universe. The day you stop struggling, there was a king called Raja Ajit Singh in India of Khetri. He was Swami Vivekananda's disciple. And then he asks, what is life? So Swami Vivekananda says, life is some other being that is pressed down by circumstances and is struggling to overcome them. This, and the king was mighty pleased. Oh, that's put in a kind of a pity way. So this chaos and order are the obverse and reverse of the same thing. And it keeps on and on and on. When does it end? Well, if it ends in reality, in God, then it makes the highest meaning. We desire something, and then we try to proceed into acquiring that. Sometimes the thing that we acquire, we find, oh, my efforts were all worthless, useless. And this is what deceives us at times. Struggles should be based on your real nature and the nature of reality, not on figments, not on something that you have sat down quietly and built up in your mind, something that this will make me happy, etc. So this struggle, when it is directed towards spirituality, it is the highest form. Today's world, we want everything ready-made, tailor-made, everything should fall in our laps. That is impossible in spirituality. One has to struggle for it. And that is the highest struggle. People struggle for, like Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And then we have these food and security and love and esteem, etc., etc. We're all struggling. And at the very crest is that self-actualization. So this self-actualization is the highest need. It is a need. And like Sri Ramakrishna says, no religion on an empty stomach. Until and unless these needs are not met, the idea of actualizing your own potential does not arise. You can see the difference between people who struggle and people who don't. Their personality itself is different. Their body language, everything is different. This is bringing meaning into life. The moment you hear people complaining, they are not struggling. A lot of people come here, meaninglessness of life. You go and struggle a little, then you will find. And, there is a joy also in struggle. I remember a long time back, a beggarly looking person singing on a harmonium very beautifully. It was so beautiful that some of us who were singers, they go and they try to give him some dole, some money or something. Say, no, I don't want that. And we are insisting, and he is again insisting back. So what do you do? So I get a little food, etc., from this temple. He was singing in a temple. That's all. But no. This music itself gives me joy. I don't need anything. So this struggle itself is going to give you joy. People say, what is the joyless world? So Sri Ramakrishna also says, struggle, joyfully struggle. Because you are going to attain a mine of bliss. And you get a little reflection of that when you struggle. As I said, struggle itself has a spiritual quality, is spirituality before you attain the heights. The people, as I said, the hierarchy of needs, we are struggling with the existential things. There are existential threats, and there's a variety, a plethora of. So these existential threats or existential realities take up so much of our time that we cannot give all the requisite, you can say, efforts towards spirituality, towards thinking that, yes, there is meaning in this. One of the foundational doctrines of Buddhism is there is pain. Pain is called a dukkha. Duh is a state, kha is unpleasant. An unpleasant duh and kha state. An unpleasant state, you are not comfortable. That is what is existentialism in a nutshell. Not the philosophy, but because the philosophy is different, which arose in France. But this existential problems that you are not comfortable with yourself and you push back at it. So this is saying the first noble truth. You must acknowledge it first. That you have to struggle to even come to a state of equilibrium. So he's saying first there is pain, there is dukkha. And then, unlike many teachers, they will tell you, you are a miserable worm. So, now what do I do about it? So the second one is, there is a cause of this. existential problems. The third is, this problem can be controlled, can be stopped. And the fourth is, there is a way to the cessation of suffering. So he called it the Four Noble Truths. It's translated as Four Noble Truths. It's called a Chatwari, that's a four, Arya Satyani. This is the truths of the Aryans. Aryans were like, any person who is noble was called an Aryan. It's nothing to do with a race. So, for a wise person, yes, the Patanjali Yoga Sutra, everything is painful. So when you become very sensitive, you can see how much discord is there. It's more than the concord. And he gave a set of 8 steps to conquer this existential problem. He called it right speech, right action, right concentration, right living, etc., etc. The idea is, don't make unnecessary problems for you and for others. So when you can guide your actions, when you can do it intelligently, your suffering is less. Okay. So the intelligent also is the one who can struggle but not suffer. So this is what he had said. One has to be equipoised in pain and pleasure and joy and sorrow. These things come in waves. And somehow they get a weakling and they overwhelm. But a person who is strong, that person can overcome this thing. And one of these doctrines was also ancillary to this was non-injury. Don't injure anybody or anything by thought, word or deed, because that is going to come back to you somehow or the other. So it's not only your actions which you are overwhelmed with, trying to struggle to come out of your own limitations, but limitations imposed by you in the past through karma, through injury. And that is another law of nature, that's the law of karma. Every action has an opposite and equal reaction, and you feel that things have come to me from, I wasn't the cause. But study it and then you'll find that you were the cause. So that's the reason why these teachers said, live in such a way that you don't upset others or hurt others, because your struggles then will be compounded. So both struggle and spirituality are common to human beings. To human beings more, because what happens is, struggle is everywhere. I mean, every living organism struggles. We are struggling to throw away disease, to dis-ease, to throw away the discomfort. Everything, we are trying to come back to equilibrium. So, in human beings, we are goal-driven. But when our goals are kind of provisional, temporary, short-sighted, then we flounder. What happened? We've put so much effort. Yeah, these goals were just ad hoc. You never had a kind of a master plan. So this was how the ancients, they put it like this. So it's natural for human beings. Struggle is natural, which is spirituality. When it is directed to a meta goal, not the small goals of life. This is another problem with the humans. We know what is right and we know what is wrong. This is inbuilt. There's no need for some kind of instructions from the scriptures and saying God or some saint taught us morality. Answers should be always from the nature of a person, of the being. And that is what Buddhism and Jainism and even Vedanta, they studied the individual, not the external world or not something which is out there in the heavens. They're saying it's there within you, the idea of right and wrong. So stick to what is right. Yes, your struggles will then have meaning. But then we try to kind of deceive ourselves. We try to ignore. We try to dull or deaden the struggle. And we know how many distractions we have invented. Innumerable. Everything is a distraction. We just want to be distracted. There is something called, the other day I was reading, why do people go in for kind of intoxicants and all that? It has been there, in the human society, I don't know for how many, 100,000, 200,000 years, they had invented something to keep us oblivious of the reality. So I was reading and saying, there is a tendency of that person to self-destruct. And somehow that person knows that this is going to destroy me. It is destroying me slowly and cannot stop it. It is not just simple getting hooked or getting intoxicated or getting, you can't throw it off. But there is that is what is wrong with our psyche. So we get hooked on something, and there we become oblivious. We want to, it kind of destroys us. Those struggles, of course, are not struggles technically. So we know what struggles are. But spirituality is more like a kind of a nebulous idea in our mind. What is spirituality? We hear a beautiful song or see something sublime and saying, this, I feel such a spiritual. That is not spirituality. Spirituality always transcends all limitations, human and natural. So when you can think of yourself as the Atman, separate from your mind and body, and which is a source of tremendous bliss, this is just the first faint ideas of spirituality. So this is the scriptures say, the human body is built on both the good and the bad karma. Why is it? So we are a mixture of both good and bad. The world is also a mixture of both good and bad. The only thing we say, we are good and the whole world is bad. No. So when the scriptures say, when both your good and bad karma are more or less equal, you get a human body. When there is an excess of, as they say, punya, the good deeds, you get a divine body, a celestial body. When your bad deeds are in excess, you get a kind of a hellish or devilish body that is constantly in pain. So it's called, this verse is Shubham apnoti daivatam. So this world is a balance of pain and pleasure, joy and sorrow, good and evil, all these. It is, and this is, according to Vedanta, and according to many Vedantas, this is the very best place to struggle. Yes, you may think, oh, it's a miserable world. No, it's one of the best worlds amongst all the worlds that are there, subtle and causal. This is the best. So we are in the very best place in the universe. But the scriptures also say there is something called, you are responsible for something that you've done. Yeah, it has come to you. But some things are just beyond you, in the sense of you're not responsible for it. So they give us 3 levels. The first level is you, the body and the mind, which generates karma. Okay. Then we have the external world, like crime or wars or some famines or droughts, or even a dog coming and biting you. I didn't do anything, but the dog came and bit me. So what did I do? I'm not responsible for that. And then we'll say, your karma, etc. No. The external world is sometimes good and sometimes like a threat. And everything is fine, and suddenly there's a huge earthquake. What do you do? Or a volcano. Then there are extraterrestrial things, which again is not in your hands at all. It's called Adidaivik. The supernatural things that come to you. So the first one is within our control, your body and mind. The other 2 are not. But then you've got to live in this world. Even if you're a highly spiritual person, if there's a snow bomb, you're going to feel cold. Okay. So then you take protection. The idea is here, you can handle this stuff here. And most of our struggles are here, concerning here. The idea is karma. Karma is not what you think it is. See, our bodies, as I said, are made from both good and bad karma. The world is a mixture of both good and bad. But when we are asked to work, and why? For the simple reason is you are in touch with the real. There is an external world out here, and you have to grapple with it. And you have to see your own reactions, your own motivations, your own deceptions, etc. Work keeps us grounded. Work is the best way to keep you detoxed. It gives you a handle on yourself and the world outside. If you stop working, you just say, oh no, I don't want to, you will get into self-deception. You will get into a kind of imaginary world. So that's why all spiritual practices, they ask you, do work towards spirituality. And now that we are equipped with sensory and motor organs, you are supposed to use them to get a grip on reality. And we've seen people, those who work progress. Those who don't, they'll slip down. So, in fact, most of the verses in the Bhagavad Gita are simply to tell us, instruct us, and inspire us to work. The secret of work, the nature of work, and what's the goal of work. Karma, that is. Then you have, when you work, you struggle, you build what is called your character. This is extremely important. People think you can get spirituality without any character. Sorry. In fact, Swami Vivekananda's exhortation was to build character first. I remember there was a monk telling us, I wanted to become a monk, and I came to Belur Mutt, and he goes to Swami Madhavananda. He was one of Holy Mother's disciples. He was the general secretary. And the young man, he's saying, I went to, Swami, I want to become a monk. He used to become a gentleman first. So he used to tell us, nowadays the boys are coming here. You can see that they don't have that spinal cord, the spinal column. They're pretty weak. A little push and they bend and break. Characters, you can say, in Indian languages, character is called a Merudanda. The Merudanda is the spinal column. You can see a person who struggles according to how he or she walks. Yeah. So that gives you that tremendous character, struggle. The Bhagavad Gita says, obtaining which one does not think of any other acquisition superior to that. In fact, Swami Vivekananda made it the central hub of spirituality, character form, saying character has to be established to 1,000 struggles. Yes. So in the gospel also, it's one of those great stories that has moved millions and millions of people. I'll briefly speak about it, highlight the thing. There was a king, an emperor called Harishchandra. And he was the emperor of India. In the mythology, they say emperor of the world, but we can say it's India. And somehow he got caught up in some circumstances where the sage Vishwamitra goes to him and says, now for the punishment that I'm going to mete out to you, you be prepared for it. And I heard that you're very charitable, and no one who ever went to the emperor came back empty-handed. So Vishwamitra himself was a great sage. He was one of the greatest sages in the Vedic literature. The Gayatri mantra that we repeat, it was his intuition that brought out this mantra and gave it to us. So you say, yes, whatever you ask, I'll give it to you. I want your kingdom. And the king, without hesitation, yes, it belongs to you. And then the sage says, now that it belongs to me, you cannot stay in this empire. You have to get out. Where do I go? You could go to Benares, because Benares is considered not a, you can say, earthly city or something like that. It belongs to Shiva. You go there. And so he is banished from his own kingdom. The king, the emperor, takes his wife, Shaibya, and his little son, Rohitasva, and they go. But you know what happens is, when, especially in India, that's a kind of, I don't know where it has come from. After you've given your gift, there is something called an auxiliary gift that has to be given. He had nothing. He's saying, I've given you everything what's in the kingdom. Now give me that auxiliary. I don't have anything. So he said, you go to Benares and you beg, borrow, steal, whatever. That place, I have no, you can say, jurisdiction. And you give me the auxiliary. That's why in India you'll say when somebody gives you pranami, 101, 110, 1000. I used to wonder, why is that 1? Who is a 10? Oh, that's auxiliary. That is, that it makes, it cements your initial gift. So the sage Vishwamitra takes this emperor, now he's no emperor, his wife and his son to Benares. And then he's saying, you work here, do whatever you, but I have to get my auxiliary gift. This person was saying, he goes looking for employment. Nothing. Then he had to sell his empress to a Brahmin, an old Brahmin. He made her work as a domestic. And so she was working, and he had to go and again beg for other work. So he was made an assistant in a cremation grounds. That's a great Manikarnika Ghat. And he was responsible for cremations. And people there, dialect flies, and people are coming and so after a few months, his appearance has completely changed. So one day, the young prince, he was plucking flowers for the Brahmin master, and he was bitten by a snake, and he died. And the mother began wailing and wailing, and she told that Brahmin, please come and help me. Oh, I'm feeling sleepy. No, I'm not going. And it is raining, it is dark, there's thunder and lightning. And she's carrying that little child of hers to the cremation ground. And she has to cremate that child. That's the one guy there, attendant, who's looking after the cremation fire, saying, get me the fees for cremation. And she's again wailing. She's saying, I don't have any money. Without money, no cremation. Now she is sitting with the dead child on her laps and wailing and wailing. And as she was wailing, she says, oh my God, like there was a time when I was an empress. And now I'm reduced to this state. And that attendant in the cremation ground, he heard it. He was an old emperor. He then recognized her. She had changed completely. And she also had not recognized him because he had changed completely. But from when she uttered his name, then both of them were weeping over their dead child. They are weeping. And then the sage comes and makes an appearance. I wanted to test you. In all these travails, he never uttered a word of regret for his actions, that he had given away everything. We would have said, what a fool I am. And that's what we actually do. What a fool I was. I should have done this. I should have done that. Not a word. So the sage comes and says, I wanted to see what you are made of. And then through his yogic power, he dispelled that illusion. Saying, go back to your king. So it was as it was in big. He threw a great kind of illusion, and the king and the queen and all, they really thought that they were undergoing this. So this is character. In fact, when there was one of those reciters who was reciting this, and Sri Ramakrishna also cried. This story is very moving. It's like I've just told it casually, but it's very moving. So just to highlight character. This is what, no regrets, no more, nothing. And you struggle on. Okay. So this is what is character. When we develop character, what we do is we develop a willpower. And as one of my previous talks has spoken, willpower is not just simple willpower. It has a power of knowledge. It has a power of action. It is called Ichcha Shakti, willpower, Kriya Shakti, the power of work, and Jnana Shakti, the power of knowledge. So when you exert your will, you also exert your knowledge, and you always exert it on something. That something is this work. So what is yoga? Yoga is nothing but struggle. The aphorist Patanjali says, Tatra stito yatno abhyasa. To keep the mind waves from breaking out and spreading is yoga. It's practice. So Swami Vivekananda translates, continuous struggle to keep the vrittis, the mind waves, from dispersing is yoga, is practice. And then they're saying, it's a nice way, it becomes firmly grounded by long, constant efforts with great love for the goal. Satu dirgha kala nairantarya. So it says it takes a long time. Long time in the sense, depends on how much energy you put inside, that will quicken. In Bhakti Yoga, the struggle is to give up the idea of the self. Not the ego. And it's always seen that people, very egotistical people, they suffer more. So in Bhakti Yoga, it's not that ordinary ego that we know. It is your individuality. But how do I give up my individuality? And why? Why? For the universal. So once you understand that you are embedded in a massive tapestry of nature, it's very easy to, when you see the big picture, this is what it is. I thought I was important. The big picture is important. You see your perceptions become widened, it grows. That is when you feel, yes, you can say, thy will be done. Not before that. Only when you see the bigger picture, you can see the entire process of creation going on. It's a tremendous, you can say. And you feel, what am I here? I thought I was important. Nothing happens even without consulting you. Say, nobody consult me. No, why should you? In our own world, we think we are so important. Bhakti Yoga breaks that. So to surrender your individuality to the universality, that is what Bhakti Yoga is. In Jnana Yoga, well, it's the first thing is somehow struggle to conquer the senses. In fact, this is the very first step. People say they read a little Jnana Yoga and this and that and saying, I'm a Jnana. You better control your senses first. And then, but the senses are very kind of strong. Even Arjuna said, oh, it's controlling the senses, it's impossible. So what you do is control the mind. And that also is an impossibility. Then you control your mind through your intellect. This is how you start controlling your mind, and the mind control the senses. So the illustration given is a chariot being pulled by a team of horses, and the horses are yoked to the chariot and the reins are there in the hands of the intellect. So if the intellect is intelligent enough, it knows where it has to go. And the Upanishad says, Tad Vishnu Paramam Padam. That is the supreme state of Vishnu. Then that intellect will guide the mind and the body, the chariot and the horses. So there has to be a tremendous power in that intellect, and that comes through karma, through character, through exerting a willpower. This is the road to freedom. So every step you take, there was one time Swami Vivekananda and another elderly monk, an itinerant monk, they had met together and they were traversing the Himalayas. And they crested a hill and they saw, oh my, in front of them, many hills. The panorama was beautiful, but so the old Swami says, my chest will burst. I'm not taking a step more. I'm not going to cross this. Swami Vivekananda says, look back. Look at what you have already crossed. And he saw they had crossed many mountains already. He's saying, now, look down. Each step is conquering these mountains out there. Don't look up there at the mountains. Look down at each and every step. And that's what he did. Slowly, slowly. Each step, each struggle will take you to the highest. You can cross the impossible. What you thought was impossible. Oh, to realize the truth, oh my God, it's impossible. And there are some people, hey, not in this life. I've met so many people. No, not in this life. I said, next life, there is no chance that you will ever get a opportunity to be here and do the things that you can do now. Don't put it off for tomorrow. Kal kare so aaj. What you can do tomorrow can be done today. Aaj kare so ab. What you can do today can be done now. So this is each step is a conquest. Each step is a conquest, a struggle for spirituality. And when you reach it, the rewards are tremendous. And then you will feel, yes, I have earned it. There are many people who have said, oh, why do you do all these spiritual struggles? And there was one great saint, Vijay Krishna Goswami, who used to meet Sri Ramakrishna. He's telling Raja Maharaja, why you practicing all these things? Sri Ramakrishna has given you everything. Yes, Sri Ramakrishna has given, but I want to make this my own. I want to own it. So you have already been given the gift of immortality in this human body. And you've got to make that immortality your own through struggles. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat. Not yet. I feel I will not realize the truth. Impure mind, I don't know if I have to believe it first. There you've already lost. Always think of yourself as pure. The impurities, etc., whatever, is just the kind of a covering that has come over you. Sri Ramakrishna was he used to get annoyed if anybody called themselves, oh, I'm a sinner. Hey, what? If you constantly think you're a sinner, you'll become a sinner. Think of yourself as a child of God. Think of yourself as pure. So what you think, so will you become. So this idea of religion that, oh, you are a sinner, you're born in sin and you live in sin and you die in sin. Sorry, that's not what Vedanta says. Swami Vivekananda is very clear. Vedanta does not recognize sin. It recognizes error. It's a mistake. Okay. So, what are you going to mope about it there? So, I hope you will take this Sri Ramakrishna's teaching. Say, don't ever think of yourself. That is the first stumbling block. Is meekness part of the character development process? Yeah, even Christ says, blessed are those who are humble, for they shall inherit the world, or something like that, something. Now, that meekness has got two causes. If that meekness or humility has come through knowledge, then it is a good thing. If the meekness has come out of giving up the struggle, oh, I've done. Yeah, that is no meekness. It has to be a heroic meekness. People think, oh, the meek, and they will inherit the world. What? The world comes and treats you like a football. Don't ever try to be meek without struggle. So, there's a saying in Sanskrit, Vidya dadati vinaya. It is knowledge that gives you that humility, that meekness. Yes. When you hear the, great, you can say, even scientists like Newton or even Einstein, you think they strutted about? Some PhD student writes a paper and that guy will strut about. Does not know anything. The more greater you are, the more humble, the more meek you become. You can understand, oh my God, there's so much to be known and yet I have not done anything. Yes, this happens also to spiritual aspirants. There will come a time when whatever you feel you have done has not been enough, and you'll be lifted up. So your struggles are, you can say, compensated 1,000-fold by God's grace. So Sri Ramakrishna also says, you take one step towards God, God takes 10 steps, no, not 100 steps towards you. So this is what happens. So meekness is part of Yes, it's better to be meek than to be egotistical, of course, than a narcissist or a sociopath or a psychopath, whatever. Okay. And the in-person audience we can go down there and discuss it. Before we go off, Wednesday, of course, Swami Avikarananda is giving his class on the gospel. Thursday, 7 p.m. is Towards the Goal Supreme by Brahmatmananda. Mantra Yoga, class 9th, it will be Mantra and Pranayama. These are the series of classes on mantra. And the next Sunday, Raka will be speaking of Zen and the joy of giving up. So, yeah, talk about giving up. And we have, again, Mother's Children, and Mother's Children have they've taken up a project of collecting winter garments, etc., for foster children. And we have Ramnam next Sunday. Today we have the Vedanta singing group, the song group. Raka will from 4 o'clock till about 6 o'clock. So the songs that we chant during Ramnam, both English and Hindi and Bengali, she will be singing that today. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu.